Admiral Kyle Harrison walked across the metal floor of the space station. His boots made soft sounds with each step. The bridge was busy with people working at their computers. Red lights blinked on and off. The air smelled like coffee and metal. Stopped in front of the big screen that showed space around Earth. For 3 weeks he had been looking at the same thing. 200 enemy ships floating in the dark. The Draconian fleet was huge and scary. Their ships looked like giant lizards made of metal. Each one was as big as a city. "Sir, something is wrong," said Lieutenant Amy Foster. She was young with short brown hair. Her voice sounded worried. She looked at her computer screen and then at him. Kyle walked over to her station. "What do you see?" "The Draconian ships, sir. They were right there a minute ago." Amy pointed at her screen. "Now they are gone. All of them." Kyle looked at the screen. It showed empty space where the enemy fleet used to be. No ships, no lights, nothing. "Are you sure your computer is working right?" "Yes, sir. I checked 3 times. All systems are normal." Amy touched some buttons, but the Draconians are just gone. Other people on the bridge heard them talking. They stopped their work and looked over. The room became quiet except for the soft sounds of machines. Captain Jake Mitchell walked up to them. He was older than Amy, with gray hair and tired eyes. "Admiral, I just got reports from our other stations. They all say the same thing. The Draconian fleet disappeared at the same time." Kyle felt cold inside his chest. The Draconians were the most dangerous enemy humans had ever faced. They had big teeth and claws. Their skin was like armor. They had destroyed many planets and killed millions of people. For 20 years, humans had been afraid of them. "Send out scouts," Kyle said. "I want to know what happened to them." "Yes, sir," Jake said. He walked away to give orders. Amy was still looking at her computer. "Sir, this is very strange. Usually when ships leave, we see them jump to light speed, or we see them fly away. But these ships just stopped being there." Kyle nodded. He had been in space for 30 years. He had seen many battles and many strange things. But this was different. Ships did not just disappear like magic. More reports came in from other people. The Draconians had been near Jupiter too. They were gone from there as well. The enemy ships near Mars were also missing. Every single Draconian ship in the solar system had vanished. Dr. Lisa Parker came onto the bridge. She was smart and knew a lot about aliens. Her lab coat was white and clean. She carried a computer pad in her hands. "Admiral Harrison," she said, "I heard about the Draconians. This does not make sense. I have studied them for 10 years. They never run away from a fight. They especially do not run away when they are winning." Kyle looked at her. "What do you think happened?" "I do not know," Lisa said. She looked worried. "But I can tell you what did not happen. They did not retreat. They did not surrender, and they did not explode." A young man ran onto the bridge. His name was Tony Brooks. He worked with the computers that listened to space. "Admiral, sir, we have a problem." "What now?" Kyle asked. "The alien trade ships are calling us. The Zephyrians want to know what we did to the Draconians. They sound scared." Kyle felt his stomach get tight. The Zephyrians were friends with humans. They traded food and supplies. If they were scared, that was bad news. Jake came back with more reports. "Sir, our scout ships found something weird. They went to where the Draconian fleet was. There is a big round empty space there." "Empty how?" Kyle asked. "Empty like nothing, sir. No light from stars, no space dust, no radiation, just nothing." Lisa looked up from her computer pad. "That is impossible. Space is never completely empty." Amy was working at her station again. "Admiral, I am getting calls from everywhere. The mining stations, the moon base. Everyone wants to know what happened." Kyle sat down in his chair. He was the leader of Earth's space defense. It was his job to protect all humans in space. But how could he protect them from something he did not understand? "Get me a line to Earth Command," he said. "Yes, sir," Amy said. She touched some buttons. The big screen changed. Now it showed General Robert King on Earth. He was sitting in his office. Behind him were flags and pictures of Earth. Kyle. What the hell is going on up there? The general asked. Half the galaxy is calling us. They want to know about our new superweapon. We do not have a superweapon, sir, Kyle said. The Draconians just disappeared. We do not know how or why. General, King looked angry. Well, figure it out fast. The other aliens think we destroyed an entire fleet without leaving any evidence. They are getting nervous. Lisa stepped forward. General, if I may, this could be very dangerous for us. If the other aliens think we have some secret weapon, they might attack us first. Exactly, General King said. So find out what really happened, and do it quickly. The screen went dark. Kyle looked around the bridge. Everyone was looking at him. They wanted answers, but he did not have any. Jake walked over to him. Sir, there is something else. Our deep space sensors picked up some kind of signal right before the Draconians disappeared, but it was not from their ships. Where did it come from? Kyle asked. That is the strange part, sir. It came from Earth. Kyle felt like ice water was running through his body. A signal from Earth had been sent right before the most powerful enemy fleet in the galaxy just vanished into nothing. He looked out at the stars through the big window. Somewhere out there, other alien races were watching and waiting. They all thought humans had some terrible secret weapon. The scary part was that maybe they were right. 3 days had passed since the Draconian fleet disappeared. Commander Steve Walsh sat in his small office on Titan. The moon was cold and far from the sun. Ice covered everything outside the research station. He looked at numbers on his computer screen. The numbers were wrong. Dr. Cruz, you need to see this, Steve said into his radio. Dr. Helen Cruz walked into his office. She was tall with red hair tied back. Her lab coat had coffee stains on it. She had been working for 18 hours straight. What is it now, Steve? She asked. She sounded tired. Steve pointed at his screen. The quantum readings. They are going crazy. Something is scanning us. Helen looked at the numbers. Her eyes got big. These readings are impossible. Nothing should be able to scan through our shields. That is what I thought too, Steve said. But look at the timestamps. The scans happen every 6 hours. Like clockwork. Helen sat down in a chair. Show me the pattern. Steve touched some buttons. The screen showed a map of the solar system. Red dots appeared on Mars, Europa, and the asteroid belt. The same scans are happening everywhere humans live. But not on alien worlds? Helen asked. No. Only human places. Helen felt cold. Someone is looking for something. Something that only humans have. On Mars, similar strange things were happening. The red planet had been home to humans for 50 years. In the underground cities, people noticed their computers acting weird. Lights flickered. Radios picked up signals that were not supposed to be there. Agent Peter Collins worked for Earth's Secret Service. He sat in a dark room full of computers. His job was to listen to alien messages. For the past 3 days, he had heard very strange things. The Zephyrians were scared. Their messages talked about humans having unknown capabilities. The hegemony of Krix was moving their warships closer to human space. Even the mysterious ethereal collective was sending worried messages to other alien races. Peter played one message again. It was from a Zephyrian trade captain. The humans are not what they seem, the alien voice said. Our sensors detect energy, patterns around their worlds that match no known technology. Peter wrote notes on paper. He did not trust computers anymore. Too many strange things were happening with human technology. He walked to his boss's office and knocked on the door. Come in, said Director Nancy Shaw. She was an older woman with gray hair. She had been in charge of alien intelligence for 20 years. Ma'am, we have a problem, Peter said. He gave her his notes. The aliens are all saying the same thing. They think we are hiding some kind of super technology. Nancy read the notes. Her face got pale. Are we? I do not know, ma'am. But if we are, nobody told me about it. Nancy picked up a red phone on by her desk. The red phone was only for the most important emergencies. Get me General King. Now. Dr. Carl Jensen was not supposed to find what he found. He was a space scientist who studied stars and planets. He worked at the university on Earth. For weeks he had been looking at old space pictures. He was writing a paper about how the solar system had changed over the past 50 years. But in the pictures, he saw things that should not be there. Around Earth, there were shadows where there should be light. Around Mars, the gravity was wrong, in some places. Around several human colonies, space itself looked bent. Carl called his friend Dr. Ruth Adams. She knew about exotic matter and strange physics. They met at a coffee shop near the university. Ruth, look at these pictures, Carl said. He showed her his computer. Ruth looked at the images. She drank her coffee and thought, Carl, these gravity readings suggest there are massive objects near our colonies, but I do not see any objects in the pictures. That is the problem, Carl said. Something very big is there, but it is invisible. Invisible how? I do not know, but whatever it is, it has been there for years, maybe decades. Ruth put down her coffee cup. Carl, are you saying there are invisible structures around human worlds? That is exactly what I'm saying. Lieutenant Tony Brooks worked at the moon base. His job was to listen to radio signals from space. Most of the time it was boring work. Ships talked to each other. Stations sent reports. Nothing exciting ever happened. But on this day, something different came through his headphones. It was a signal that his equipment should not have been able to hear. The frequency was wrong. The signal was too weak. But somehow his radio caught it. The message was short. It was in English, but it sounded strange, like someone was trying to disguise their voice. Tony recorded the message and played it again. The sleepers are awakening. Phase 2 is complete. Tony's hands started to shake. He played the message 10 more times. Always the same words. Always the same strange voice. He looked around the radio room. He was alone. Nobody else had heard the message. Tony made a copy of the recording and put it in his pocket. Then he deleted the message from the computer. Agent Peter Collins got a call from Tony Brooks that night. They had been friends at the academy. Tony's voice sounded scared. Peter, I need to see you. I found something bad. What did you find? Peter asked. Not on the phone. Meet me at the old pizza place on Luna City. 1 hour. Peter drove his car through the tunnels under the moon's surface. Luna City was busy even at night. People walked around in the fake daylight under the big dome. But Peter did not notice the crowds. He was thinking about all the strange things that had been happening. Tony was waiting at a table in the back of the pizza restaurant. He looked tired and scared. Peter sat down across from him. What is going on, Tony? Tony took out a small recording device. Listen to this, but keep your voice down. Peter put on headphones. He listened to the strange message. His face went white. Where did this come from? Peter whispered. That is the problem, Tony said. The signal came from Earth, but not from any Earth station I know about. Peter thought about all the reports he had been reading. Aliens who were scared of humans. Energy readings that made no sense. Invisible structures around human worlds, and now a mysterious message about sleepers awakening. Tony, I think humans have been lying to themselves, Peter said. I think there is another group of humans. A secret group. And they have technology we do not know about. Tony nodded. That is what I think too. But who are they? And what do they want? Peter looked around the restaurant. Other people were eating pizza and talking. They looked normal and happy. They had no idea that their world might not be what it seemed. I do not know, Peter said, but I think the Draconian fleet disappearing was just the beginning. I think we are about to learn some very scary things about who we really are. Outside the restaurant, the stars shined through the dome over Luna City. But Peter wondered if some of those stars were really stars at all. Maybe some of them were watching. Maybe some of them were waiting. And maybe humanity was not as simple as everyone thought. Dr. Helen Cruz could not sleep. She walked through the dark halls of the Titan research station at night. Her footsteps echoed in the empty corridors. Something was bothering her about the quantum computer in her lab. She went back to her office and turned on the lights. The quantum computer hummed quietly in the corner. Helen sat down and started typing. She was looking for files about the strange energy readings they had been detecting. But as she searched, she found something that should not have been there. Files that her security clearance should not allow her to see. Files with names like Project Nightfall and Terra Protocol. Helen's heart started beating fast. She clicked on the first file. Words appeared on her screen that made her hands shake. Project Nightfall. Initiated 2157. Classification level. Beyond black. She read. More. The file talked about weapons that could bend space and time. Technology that could make entire fleets disappear. Research that had been going on for over 100 years. This is impossible, Helen whispered to herself. We do not have this kind of technology. But the files were real. They had dates and signatures and technical drawings. Helen copied everything to a small data chip. Then she deleted her search history and turned off the computer. Agent Peter Collins was having his own problems on Earth. He had been trying to find out who was really in charge of Project Nightfall. But every name he found led to another mystery. The people listed as project leaders did not exist in any government records. They had no birth certificates, no school records, no history at all. It was like they were ghosts. Peter sat in his car outside the intelligence building. He was scared to go inside. Someone had been watching him. Black cars followed him home. His phone made strange noises. He felt like he was being hunted. His phone rang. It was Helen Cruz calling from Titan. Peter, we need to talk, Helen said. Her voice sounded scared. I found files. Terrible files. Not on the phone, Peter said. They might be listening. Then meet me. There is a supply ship leaving for Titan. Tomorrow. Get on it. Captain Jake Mitchell was having the strangest week of his life. He had been ordered to investigate what happened to the Draconian fleet, but everywhere he looked, he found more questions instead of answers. His ship was near Jupiter when they picked up a distress signal. It was weak and coming from an old cargo container floating in space. Jake ordered his crew to bring it aboard. Inside the container, they found a dying alien. It was not like any species Jake had ever seen. The creature was small and gray with big black eyes. It was breathing very slowly. Get Dr. Parker on the radio, Jake told his crew. We need a xenobiologist. Dr. Lisa Parker's voice came through the ship's speakers from her lab on Earth. Jake, be very careful. That species is called the Cathara. They were wiped out 50 years ago. Wiped out by who? Jake asked. Nobody knows. Their entire star system just disappeared one day. The dying alien opened its eyes and looked at Jake. When it spoke, its voice was like wind through leaves. You are human, the alien whispered. Yes, Jake said. We are here to help you. The alien tried to sit up. No, you do not understand. Humans are the destroyers. You are the ones who killed my people. Jake felt cold. That is not true. Humans do not destroy entire star systems. Not the humans everyone sees, the alien said. The other humans, the ones who hide in the dark, they came to our world long ago. They said they were protecting the galaxy. Then our sun went out. The alien grabbed Jake's arm with its thin fingers. They are the silent ones, the ancients. They never died. They just pretended to be something else. Before Jake could ask more questions, the alien stopped breathing. Its hand fell away from his arm. Jake stared at the dead creature and wondered what it had meant. Dr. Lisa Parker was in her lab on Earth when she got Jake's report. She had been studying ancient alien texts for years. The dying alien's words made her remember something she had read. She pulled out old books and scrolled through computer files. In the oldest alien histories, there were stories about a race called the Silent Ones. They had ruled the galaxy millions of years ago. Then they had vanished without explanation. The descriptions of the Silent Ones were strange. They could change reality with their thoughts. They could make entire fleets disappear. They could hide whole planets from view. Lisa read one passage out loud to herself. The Silent Ones were masters of all things, but they were not evil. They protected the young races from those who would destroy them. When their work was done, they faded into legend. She stopped reading. The description sounded familiar. It sounded like what the aliens were saying about humans. Peter Collins arrived on Titan 2 days later. Helen met him at the space dock. She looked like she had not slept in days. "Peter, you are not going to believe what I found," she said. They walked through the station to Helen's lab. She showed him the files she had copied. Peter read them with growing amazement and fear. "Helen, these weapons could destroy entire star systems." "That is not the scary part," Helen said. "Look at the dates. This technology has existed for over a century, but it has been hidden from everyone." Peter looked at more files. "Who is hiding it?" "A group called the Terra Collective, but I cannot find any information about who they really are." Before Helen could say more, the door to her lab opened. 3 people walked in. They wore normal clothes, but moved in a way that seemed strange. Too quiet. Too smooth. "Dr. Cruz." "Agent Collins," said the woman in front. She was tall with dark hair and eyes that seemed very old. "We need to talk." Peter's hand moved toward his weapon, but the woman raised her hand and Peter found he could not move. "Do not be afraid," the woman said. "We are not here to hurt you. We are here because the time for secrets is ending." Helen found her voice. "Who are you?" "My name is Victoria Kane. I represent the Terra Collective, and it is time you learned the truth about what humanity really is." Victoria gestured to chairs. Peter and Helen found themselves sitting down without choosing to do so. "The Draconian fleet was not destroyed," Victoria continued. "It was moved to a place where it could not hurt anyone. This is what we do. We protect all life in the galaxy." "We?" Peter asked. "The real human civilization, the one that has been hidden beneath the surface, you know. We are your descendants, evolved far beyond what you think is possible." Helen stared at Victoria. "You are saying there are 2 types of humans?" "Not 2 types. 2 levels. The humans everyone sees are real and important, but they are protected by us. We have been doing this for centuries." Victoria waved her hand in the air and the room shimmered. Suddenly they could see outside Titan's surface. But instead of empty ice, there were massive cities underground. Ships that defied physics flew between towering structures. "This is just one of our facilities," Victoria said. "We have them around every human world, hidden in folded space where normal sensors cannot detect them." Peter's mind was reeling. Why hide? Why not tell everyone? Because the galaxy is not ready for the truth. Other species fear us already, even knowing only a fraction of our capabilities. If they knew everything, they would either worship us as gods or try to destroy us out of terror. Helen looked at the impossible cities below. "What are you really?" Victoria smiled sadly. "We are what humans become when they stop limiting themselves. We are the silent ones that other races remember in their legends. We never left the galaxy. We just learned to hide in plain sight." Outside, alarms started ringing throughout the Titan station. Victoria looked up with concern. "It seems our conversation has been detected. Other powers in the galaxy are moving, faster than we expected." She stood up. "The masquerade is ending, whether we are ready or not." Victoria and her companions began to fade like ghosts. "Find Commander Walsh in Lab 7. He will show you what comes next." As they disappeared, Victoria's voice echoed in the air. "The galaxy is about to learn that humanity is not what anyone thought, including humans themselves." Peter and Helen sat in the empty lab, staring at each other. Through the window they could still see the hidden cities below the ice. Everything they thought they knew about their own species had just been turned upside down. And somewhere in the darkness of space, other alien civilizations were preparing for what they feared most, the awakening of the Silent Ones. Commander Steve Walsh walked down into the secret levels beneath Titan. The elevator went deeper than any map showed. His hands were shaking as the doors opened to reveal corridors that should not exist. The walls were made of a material that looked like metal but felt warm to touch. Lights came on by themselves as he walked. The air smelled clean and fresh, nothing like the recycled air in the station above. Steve followed the directions Victoria Kane had given him. Lab 7 was at the end of a long hallway. When he reached the door, it opened before he could knock. "Hello, Steve," said a familiar voice. Dr. Martin Gray stood in the doorway. Steve's mouth fell open. Martin was supposed to be dead. He had died in an accident 5 years ago. Steve had been at his funeral. "Martin, but you are dead. I saw your body." Martin smiled sadly. "The body you saw was not mine. We had to make people think I died so I could join the real work." Martin looked older but also different. His eyes seemed to hold knowledge that went beyond normal human understanding. When he moved, it was like he was floating instead of walking. "Come in, Steve. You need to see what humanity really is." The lab was huge, much bigger than the entire Titan station above. Strange machines hummed quietly along the walls. In the center was a table with a map of the galaxy, but this map showed things Steve had never seen before. "Martin, what is this place?" "This is one of our smaller facilities. We have thousands like it throughout the galaxy." Martin pointed to the map. "Each red dot is a hidden human base. Each blue dot is a world we protect without them knowing it." Steve looked at the map. There were thousands of red dots. Thousands of secret human bases in places where normal humans had never been. "We have been watching and protecting for over 200 years, Martin explained. "The humans living normal lives above ground are our family. We keep them safe from dangers they never know about." "What kind of dangers?" Martin touched the map. New images appeared showing alien fleets and strange creatures from deep space. Species that would destroy all life. Ancient machines that still try to carry out orders from dead civilizations. Things from other dimensions that hunger for our reality. Steve stared at the images. Some of the creatures looked like nightmares. "How do we fight things like that?" "Watch," Martin said. The map changed to show a solar system Steve did not recognize. A massive fleet of dark ships was attacking a blue planet. Then human ships appeared. But these were not like any ships Steve knew. They moved without engines. They fired weapons that bent space itself. In minutes, the attacking fleet was gone, not destroyed but removed from reality completely. "We do not kill if we can avoid it," Martin said. "We relocate hostile forces to pocket dimensions where they cannot harm anyone. The Draconian fleet is safe in such a place. They will have time to evolve beyond their need for war." Steve felt dizzy. "Martin, what are we? What have humans become?" "We are what we were always meant to be. Millions of years ago, our ancestors were different. They could manipulate matter and energy with their minds. They could travel between dimensions. They were the guardians of the galaxy." Martin walked to another machine. But they grew tired of their role. They chose to become mortal and forget their power. They became the humans you know. But some of us remembered. Some of us kept the old abilities alive. On Earth, Agent Peter Collins and Dr. Helen Cruz were being taken to meet more members of the Terra Collective. Their escort was a man who introduced himself as Director William Hart. He looked normal except for his eyes, which seemed to see everything at once. "You have questions?" William said, as they walked through underground tunnels beneath Washington, D.C. "Ask them." "How many of you are there?" Peter asked. "About 10 million active members worldwide. But every human has the potential to become what we are. It just takes training and awakening." Helen was looking at the tunnel walls. They were covered with symbols that hurt to look at directly. "These symbols, what do they do?" "They hold reality stable. Without them, the extra dimensions we use would leak into normal space. That would be very bad for everyone." They reached a large chamber filled with people working at impossible machines. Some of the workers were floating in the air. Others seemed to be partially transparent. "This is mission control," William explained. "From here, we monitor threats to the galaxy. We have similar centers on every human world and many non-human worlds too." Peter watched a woman who was typing on a keyboard made of light. "Do the other aliens know about you?" "Some do. The oldest species remember us from the ancient times. They call us the Silent Ones or the Watchers. Most think we disappeared long ago." "Why reveal yourselves now?" Helen asked. William's face became serious. Because something is coming. Something that even we may not be able to handle alone. We need the entire galaxy to be ready. On Mars, Captain Jake Mitchell was discovering similar truths. He had been taken to a facility hidden beneath the red planet's surface. The person showing him around was Fleet Commander Elizabeth Stone. The terraforming of Mars is happening much faster than people think, Elizabeth explained as they walked through vast underground forests. What appears to be a slow process is actually being accelerated by our technology. Jake looked up at artificial suns that provided light for the underground ecosystem. Why hide this? People would be happy to know Mars is becoming livable faster. Because questions would follow. How are we doing it? Where did the technology come from? Soon, someone would discover the truth about us. They reached a viewing platform that looked out over an underground ocean. Fish swam in the water. Birds flew through the artificial sky. Jake, Mars will be fully habitable in 10 years, not the 100 years scientists predict, but we will reveal, this slowly making it seem natural. What about the other colonies? Jake asked. Europa houses 50 million people, not the 10,000 in the official records. The asteroid belt contains cities with populations larger than Earth. Every human colony is much bigger and more advanced than anyone knows. Jake's mind was spinning. How do you hide entire cities? Folded space. We exist in the same location, as normal space but in different dimensions. It is like having multiple rooms in the same spot, each invisible to the others. Elizabeth led him to another area where technicians were working on star maps. We have been seeding the galaxy with human presence for generations. There are humans living in star systems that official records say are unexplored. Why spread out so much? Protection. If something happened to Earth, humanity would survive. But also because it is our nature. Humans are meant to explore and grow. We are helping that happen safely. Back on Titan, Steve was learning about his own future. Martin had shown him machines that could enhance human abilities beyond anything imaginable. The process is not painful, Martin explained, but it changes you completely. You will see reality as it truly is. You will understand the connections between all things. What if I do not want to change? That is your choice. Many people choose to remain as they are. They continue their normal lives, never knowing about us. We protect them just the same. Steve looked at his reflection in a mirror made of liquid metal. If I choose to change, can I go back? No. Once you see the true nature of reality, you cannot unsee it. You will become responsible for protecting those who cannot protect themselves. Martin touched Steve's shoulder. But you will also become capable of wonders you cannot imagine. You will help shape the future of all life in the galaxy. Steve thought about his life, his work, his friends. Everything seemed small compared to what Martin was offering. What happens next? Steve asked. Next, we prepare for what is coming. The galaxy is about to face its greatest test. Ancient enemies are awakening. Forces from outside our reality are trying to break through. Martin showed Steve images of things that made his mind hurt to look at. Creatures of pure darkness. Machines bigger than stars, entities that existed in spaces between dimensions. We have fought them before, in the old times. But they are stronger, now. We will need every advantage we can get. Steve looked around the impossible lab one more time. When does the galaxy learn the truth? Soon, Martin said. Very soon. The age of secrets is ending. Humanity will step out of the shadows and take its place as the guardians of all life. Outside, alarms were ringing on space stations throughout the solar system. Other alien civilizations were moving their fleets. Everyone could feel that something big was about to happen. The masquerade was ending, and the galaxy would never be the same. Admiral Kyle Harrison stood in a room that did not exist on any map of his space station. Fleet Commander Elizabeth Stone had brought him here through a door that appeared in his office wall like magic. Admiral, everything you have believed about human space defense is about to change, Elizabeth said. She was wearing a uniform he had never seen before. It seemed to be made of starlight. The room was filled with screens showing star systems across the galaxy. Kyle could see human ships in places where humans had never been. He could see cities on worlds that were supposed to be empty. "How long have you been watching me?" Kyle asked. 43 years, since you joined the Space Academy. We have been guiding your career, making sure you were in the right position when the truth needed to come out." Kyle felt angry and confused. "You have been controlling my life?" "No. We have been protecting it. You have made your own choices. We just made sure those choices led you to where you needed to be." Elizabeth touched one of the screens. It showed the solar system, but not as Kyle had ever seen it. Massive structures surrounded every planet. Ships moved through space using technology that defied physics. The human colonies you think house thousands actually house millions. Earth itself has a population of 50 billion, not the 8 billion, in official records. Kyle stared at the screen. "Where are they all?" "In folded space, in dimensions that exist alongside normal reality. We learned long ago how to make room where there was no room." Another screen showed alien fleets gathering at the edge of human space. The Zephyrians, the Hegemony, the Ethereal Collective, and dozens of other species were all moving toward Earth. "They know something has changed," Elizabeth continued. "The disappearance of the Draconian fleet was just the beginning. They can sense that humanity is different now." On Earth, Dr. Helen Cruz and Agent Peter Collins were in the real headquarters of human intelligence. The building existed in the same space as a normal office building, but in a different dimension. Director Victoria Kane showed them screens displaying conversations between alien leaders across the galaxy. "They are scared," Victoria explained. "For the first time in thousands of years, they do not understand what is happening. Some want to attack us before we grow stronger. Others want to make peace and ask for protection." Peter watched alien ships moving through space. "What do? We reveal ourselves. Slowly, carefully, but completely." Victoria touched a control panel. Phase 3 begins now. Around the galaxy, human ships began appearing in places they had never been seen before, not attacking, not threatening, just showing themselves. The ships were beautiful and impossible, moving through space like living things. On the Zephyrian homeworld, Trade Minister Zelak received a message from the humans, but it was not sent through normal communication channels. The words appeared directly in his mind, spoken in a voice that was gentle but filled with power. "We are the guardians you remember from your oldest stories. We have been watching and protecting. Now we must step into the light." Similar messages reached every alien civilization. The humans were revealing themselves as the legendary Silent Ones, the ancient protectors of the galaxy. Some alien races panicked. The hegemony of Crix launched their entire fleet toward human space, determined to destroy this threat before it could destroy them. But the human response was swift and merciful. The Crix fleet found itself surrounded by ships that seemed to be made of condensed starlight. No weapons were fired. No threats were made. The alien ships simply stopped working. Then the Crix crews heard the same gentle voice in their minds. "We do not wish to fight. We wish to protect. Your fleet will be returned to your homeworld. Consider what kind of galaxy you want to live in." The Crix ships were transported instantly back to their home system, their weapons permanently disabled, but their crews unharmed. Commander Steve Walsh had made his choice on Titan. He went through the process that awakened his hidden abilities. Now he could see reality as it truly was. The universe was not empty space filled with stars. It was a living web of energy and consciousness, with every living thing connected to every other living thing. Humans were not just another species. They were the caretakers of this web, responsible for keeping it healthy. "How did I never see this before?" Steve asked Dr. Martin Gray. "Because you were not ready. Your mind had to grow into it slowly. If you had seen too much too fast, it would have broken you." Steve could now see the true scope of human civilization. Billions of humans lived in pocket dimensions around every star system. They had been quietly preventing wars, stopping plagues, and protecting young civilizations from destroying themselves. "We are gardeners," Martin explained. "The galaxy is our garden. Every species is a different kind of flower. Our job is to help them all grow." Captain Jake Mitchell was on Mars when the final revelation came. The entire planet began to change before his eyes. The red surface cracked open like an egg, revealing the green world that had been growing underneath. In hours, Mars transformed from a cold desert into a living world with blue oceans and white clouds. Cities rose from the ground full of humans who had been living there in secret for generations. "This is what we have been building toward," Fleet Commander Elizabeth Stone told Jake. "A galaxy where every world can be a paradise, where every species can reach its full potential." Jake watched ships from across the galaxy arriving at Mars, not to attack, but to see the miracle of a dead world brought to life. Dr. Lisa Parker was in her lab on Earth when the planet itself began to change. The continent shifted slightly, revealing structures that had been hidden for centuries. Space elevators grew from the ground like crystal trees. Cities of light appeared in the sky. The human population that had been hidden in folded space began to emerge. People who looked normal but moved like they were dancing with the laws of physics. Children who played with toys made of solidified starlight. "This is what humanity becomes when it stops being afraid," Lisa said to herself. All across the galaxy, alien civilizations had to make a choice. They could accept that humans were the legendary guardians and work with them to build a better galaxy. Or they could reject the new reality and face the consequences. Most chose cooperation. The Zephyrians offered to share their trade networks. The Ethereal Collective opened their archives of ancient knowledge. Even some members of the hegemony asked to learn how to transform their own worlds. A few species chose to fight. They launched attacks on human worlds, expecting to find the same vulnerable colonies they had always known. Instead, they found worlds protected by forces beyond their understanding. Their weapons passed harmlessly through human shields. Their ships were gently but firmly pushed away from human space. The hostile species were not destroyed. They were relocated to star systems where they could live safely while they learned to be peaceful. Some complained, but they were fed and housed and given everything they needed. Admiral Kyle Harrison found himself in command of the most powerful fleet in galactic history. But it was not a fleet built for war. It was built for exploration, protection, and wonder. "What happens now?" he asked Elizabeth Stone. "Now we build the galaxy our ancestors dreamed of, a place where every species can grow and learn and become more than they ever thought possible." Kyle looked out at the stars, which now seemed brighter and more alive than ever before. "And the Draconians? They will be returned when they are ready. Our isolation chambers help species evolve beyond their need for violence. Most learn within a few years. Some take decades, but they all learn eventually." The galaxy was changing. Species that had been enemies for millennia were talking to each other. Worlds that had been barren were blooming with life. Technologies that had been used for war were being turned to creation and healing, and at the center of it all were the humans, not ruling as conquerors, but serving as guardians. Protecting the young species, teaching the old ones, and helping everyone reach for something greater. The age of secrets was over. The age of wonders had begun. In the depths of space, other galaxies began to take notice of the transformation. Some sent messages of congratulation. Others sent warnings about threats that were coming from the dark spaces between realities. But humanity was ready. They had spent centuries preparing for this moment. They had learned to work with every species, to turn enemies into friends, and to protect life in all its forms. The silent ones were silent no more, and the galaxy would never be the same.